Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel JP Khasi Tech. So if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe. Now let's start the project. First of all, this is the part 2 session of the setting page. So first you remember this, go to prefabs, okay, go to preference, this one, XML, and then remember the code, this one, the key, and then the key for the list preference. Okay, now let's go to the preference activity. You can go from here, this one, now open that one. Let's create the setting method first. So I'm going to call it private void load setting. Okay, just open and close, and then open and close curly bracket. Come inside this and let's define the share preference here. First of all, I'm going to create the share preference, and short name I'm going to give sp equal, here I'm going to call preference manager. Okay, dot get default share preference, this one. Next, inside here we have to find the context. So context, I'm going to save this, close. Now let's first retrieve the boolean value from the checkbox. Okay, so I'm going to call it boolean check underscore night variable equal to, I'm going to take the variable of share preference, copy this one and then paste here, then dot get, we are retrieving boolean, so call boolean. Now here inside the parameter we have to give the key and then the boolean value. Remember in preps file, here in setting page we have defined the key and then the boolean value for the checkbox, retrieve that one. Go back again to the share preference. Here we are going to define first double quotation, and then inside this we are going to give first the key, and then after comma you give the default value is false. Okay, now done. Now let's make a condition. I'm gonna say if, copy this variable, paste inside the parameter, give open and close curly bracket, come inside the curly bracket. So I'm gonna say if the checkbox is checked, then I want that the background of the setting page to be little darker. So I'm gonna call a method get list view dot set background color. Okay, remember it's background color, so I'm gonna call it color dot parse color. Parse color will allow you to set the color coded form. So I'm going to give double quotation and then define the color which is little darker. Okay, now if it is unchecked, I want that the background of the setting page to be in the normal. So I'm going to call else, open and close curly bracket, and come again inside the curly bracket. Now copy this one, paste here, and then now change the color form to the normal, which was white. Okay, Control Alt L to rearrange. This will work whenever the apps restart or resume. Okay, now let's do one more method for the instant change. Okay, so just go below here. Now this time we are going to call the checkbox, not the boolean. Checkbox preference, I'm gonna say chk underscore night. This one is just the variable instant. Okay, just equal. Now this time we are going to find the preference instead of preference manager. So I'm going to call it casting first. It's very important here, casting, and I'm going to say find preference. Okay, the preference is, give double quotation. Here the preference means the key. Okay, the key was this one. Copy this one and then paste here. Close this one. Now make a check change listener. Okay, so it will change instant. So I'm gonna call the variable first, copy this one here, paste, and say dot set on check change listener. Okay, I'm gonna call it here inside the parameter new, and here you type on, then it will give you the option preference dot on preference change listener. Select this one, come here below, change this one if you want. The variable of the preference, I'm going to change this one to preps, and then the object value I'm going to change to obj. Okay, now next, the return method must be true here. Change this false to true. Clear? Now inside this method, first I'm going to convert the preference object into boolean. So just say boolean, and it is nothing, just yes or no. Okay, equal. Now it is a boolean, so give boolean casting. Then now take the object. Remember this variable object. Take this object, copy, and then paste here outside, and then close it. Okay, now we have the object boolean. Now just make a condition here. If it is yes, copy this one and then paste here. Then give open and close curly bracket, come inside the curly bracket. If it is yes, then change the background color to the darker, or else change to the normal. So background color, you can copy again this one. If it is check, copy this one and then paste here inside. Okay, or else if it is unchecked, change it to normal. Come inside here and then copy again the second one. This will change instantly as soon as you check the checkbox or uncheck. Okay, Control Alt L to rearrange the code. Now let's call this method whenever the apps resume or else restart. So just come here on create method and then call the method that you have created, load settings, right? So this will call on create method. Now call this one whenever the app resume. So go here down below here, call one method on resume. Okay, on resume here, then call the method again, load setting. Okay, Control Alt L to rearrange. Now run the project and see if it's worked. Okay guys, the apps has runs properly. Now let's see if the checkboxes work. Go to settings. Now just check if it's worked. This will change into black color. It's worked instantly. Okay, now let's do again same for the list preference also. That will help to change the orientation. So just go down below here. After this method here, let's define one more method for list preference. This time we are going to call the list preference. Okay, list preference, and I'm going to call the short as LP, which means list preference. Now this time we are going to find the method directly, preference. So give the casting. I'm going to say this is list preference, and then find the preference directly. Now what is the key for the list preference? Now let's go to the preps file, and then you can see this is the key. Okay, orientation. Copy this one, go back again to the preference activity, and then paste here with double quotation. Okay, paste here. Now just close it. Now here below we have to make a condition, but before making the condition, let's make first the string, because we are going to set the summary also. And list preference, the summary will not set automatically, we have to define. Okay, now let's find the string first. I'm gonna call it variable as orient equal. Now here we have to paste the variable of share preference. Now go up, remember this one, sp is the variable of share preference. So copy this one and then go down and then paste here. Okay, now I'm gonna call dot get string this time, not the boolean, string. Okay, now here inside we have to define the key and then the value. So give double quotation, orientation in capital, right? Outside the double quotation, false. Okay, now go down below here and let's make a condition. So I'm gonna call a condition if double quotation, if the item one dot equal orientation. Okay, if the orientation string is number one, then I'm gonna call this method, which means it will use the automatic settings, right? I'm gonna say set request orientation. Okay, here I'm gonna write inside the parameter activity info dot, here you have to say automatic, which means auto, so it is behind. Okay, screen orientation behind. Okay, now next, else if the item is this time number two. Okay, dot equal orientation, then call this method. If the user will select portrait mode, then change the screen orientation to portrait mode. Okay, so for that purpose, just copy this one and then paste here inside, and then change this behind to portrait mode. Okay, clear? Now for the next, else if the user item selected is number 3 this time, dot equal orientation, then I'm gonna say change the orientation to landscape mode. Okay, so come here and then paste again, then change this last part to landscape. Okay, clear? Now Control Alt L to rearrange the code. Now let's make one more method which will call instantly. Okay, so for that purpose we are going to create the set change listener. Okay, so I'm gonna say take the variable first, copy this one, paste here. Okay, now I'm gonna say dot set on preference change listener. Okay, this one. Now here just type inside the parameter new on. When you will type on, you will get one option here, preference dot on preference change listener. Click this one and then you will get this method, and then come down here as usual, change this one return to true, and then change this preference if you want variable to preps, and then change the value object to obj as you want. Now just come inside this method. First of all, let's change the object into string item. Okay, so I'm gonna call it string item items equal. Now this item is actually the string. Give the casting a string. Now copy the object here and then paste here. Now close it. Now we got the item object from the list. Now just make a condition. So I'm gonna say if. Now this time copy the variable preps. Copy this one. If the preference dot get key, and the key is, remember this one, orientation key. Copy this one and then paste here with double quotation. Okay, like this. If the preference key is orientation, then come down here and give open and close curly bracket. Then we are going to see method switch. So I'm going to call switch item. Okay, copy this item. In short, you can say if the item is number 1. Okay, if the item is number 1, give colon. Then I'm going to change the orientation to auto mode. So just go up, see this one, copy this one behind, and then go down here and then paste here. Okay, it will change to auto mode instantly. Now just break the condition. Now next condition we are going to write, so case the item is this time number 2, close with colon, then paste again, then change the last to portrait. Right, now next break the condition again and do one more. If it is this time number 3, colon, then change the orientation to landscape mode. Break the condition, Control Alt L. Now let's run the project and see. Okay guys, the app has launched properly. Now let's see if it's worked. Go to setting. Okay, now let's change first to landscape. Now let's do again to portrait. One more. Okay, now can you see guys, one thing is missing here. So let me show. Go to auto. If you will change to portrait, there is no summary here. Now let's add summary here. Okay, now let's go first here. Go here. Just before this method here, let's call a method list preference, and I'm going to give as short name LPP. Okay, equal, and this LPP is actually a list preference, and this list preference is actually a preps. Okay, this preference, copy this one and then paste here. Now close it. Now copy the variable, paste here, and then dot set summary, because we are going to set the summary, right? Now copy again the variable, this one, copy this one and paste here. Now call get entries. Then here you give open and close square bracket. Inside the square bracket, copy again this one variable here, and then now find the index dot find index of value, and the value index is actually this item. Okay, copy this item and then paste here. Control Alt L to rearrange. Now let's start the project again. Let's see if it's work. Okay, now let me change to portrait again. This time the summary has been set it. Now let's change to auto. It is auto. Now if I will change to landscape mode, this thing will be no more. So let's do. Can you see, guys, the summary has been gone. Now let's change again to portrait. No more summary. If you will give auto here, it's work. Now let's fix this. Then go to first method. This one we have to define here whenever the apps is created. So just go below here. If it is number 1, then just call a method variable, this one, pass here, and then dot set summary. Okay, now inside this one again paste the variable lp dot. Now this time I'm gonna call get entry. Finish. Now for the another, copy this one and then go here. If it is number 2, then just below here pass here. Now go here again. If it is number 3, pass below here. Okay, now Control Alt L to rearrange. Now run the project. Okay guys, the apps is launched properly. Now let's see. Go to setting again. Now let's change portrait mode. The summary has been set up. Now let's change to landscape mode. Even in the landscape, the summary has been saved. Now let's change to portrait again. It is changed. Now can you see one thing missing here? If you will change to landscape mode, and when you will go back in the main activity, the activity is still in the portrait mode. But when you will go back to the setting page, it is landscape. But if you will give dark here, if you will go back in the main activity, is light. So let's do this one. Now for this purpose, let's go to main activity here. Or you can go from here. This is our main activity. So let's go to the XML first. This is our layout XML. Open this one and let's give the ID first for this background and then for text color. So I'm going to give this one first. I'm going to give the ID for this. I'm just going to call M layout. Now let's come here in the text view mode, ID for this also. So I'm going to call it TV. Okay, now let's go to the main activity and let's find variable first of two object here. I'm going to say private. First I'm going to call for the linear layout, and the variable I'm going to give ML. Okay, close it. Now next variable I'm going to call it private, and this time this is text view. Variable I'm going to call it TV. Close it. Now let's initialize this object here on create method. Take the variable of the linear layout. It was ML, right? ML equal find view by ID. So IDs inside the resources are dot ID dot, and the ID of the linear layout was M layout. Okay, just close it. Now for the next, I'm gonna take the variable TV equal, do the same, find view by ID, R dot ID dot, and this time the ID of the text view is TV. Okay, close it. Now go outside the onCreate method here and then call method private void load underscore setting. Spelling does not matter here. Okay, come inside this curly bracket and then let's define the setting method again. Let's just go to preference first and copy those. Here, remember this first method, this one, just copy this one and then go here in main activity and then paste here. Okay, you have to import. This time we are not going to change the list view. Instead we are going to change the background that we have give ID. Cancel this one and then cancel this one also. Okay, now here the retrieving method will be same. Share preference sp equal preference manager dot get default share preference. So context will be the same this time. So we are going to retrieve again the boolean from the setting page. So same thing here, check night equal sp variable Okay, the key is night and then default is fall. Now if it is check, I'm gonna change the background color of the background that we have given the ID, right? So go up here and then take this one, take this variable, copy, and then go down here and paste inside here. Okay, now dot set background color. Okay, now here also we are going to use the parse color, color dot parse color. So just give double quotation and inside double quotation define your color, so which is the dark black. Okay, now at the same time we are going to change the text color also to light white, because if you will change the background to dark, it will be invisible, right? Because it is black. Take the variable of text view, so this one, copy this one, or you can write paste here in the first method. Dot set, this time remember we have to set the text color, not the background, so it is text color. Now I'm gonna use the parse color here also, so give color dot parse color. So now double quotation and define your color. So this time the text color I'm gonna say white. Okay, now done. Now if it is check, change the background of the main activity to dark color, and then also change the text view text color to white. Or else if it is unchecked, then change the background color and then text color to normal. Okay, now copy this one and then else here paste this, and then change this one to normal, which is the white, and then change this one text color to normal, which is the black. Now next, let's do same for the list view also. Just go back here, preference, and then let's go down here. Remember the second method, copy this one and then go back to main activity, and just after this first method here paste the method that we have copied. Okay, now here we have to remove some line. Okay, this one, summary, we are not going to use on main activity, so remove this line and then remove this line also, and also remove this line. Now let's load this method of settings whenever the apps restart or resume. Okay, go here and then let's call a method, so it is load setting. Okay, now let's go down below here. Now go outside here and then write a method on resume. Okay, now come inside here and then load the setting whenever the app resume, so just call load setting. Clear? Now let's run the apps. Okay guys, the apps has launched successfully. Now let's see if it's work. Go to setting first and then let's change the orientation first to landscape. Okay, now can you see guys, in the setting activity the orientation changed instantly. Now let's go back, and here is the result. Even in the main activity the orientation change. Okay, now let's go back to setting again. Now let's change to dark mode, change this dark mode. Let's go back. Even in the main activity the background has been changed to dark. And now let's change the orientation, go to setting and then portrait. Okay guys, it works. Now you can see even in the main activity the orientation change. Only this guys for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe.